Hi, this is Asim.
This is Sujoy.
This is Amrita.
And you're listening to Khandaan, a Bollywood podcast about the three main Khans of the Hindi film industry.
Amir,
Salman,
And Shara.
Welcome back to Khandaan podcast. We are playing catch up. So now we're doing PYAAR TUNE KYA KIYA, the movie we picked in our Instagram live session with the audience. If you want to join our Instagram live audience, what is that called? Insta chat? Insta live? What is it called that we did?
it's just an
Live, right?
Insta live stream, whatever.
Yeah.
Group chat with the three hosts of Khandaan podcast.
Yes. Yeah, see, those three things. Group chat and Insta Live, whatever. Follow us on Instagram. That's what I'm trying to get to.
And the account for that is Khandaan podcast on Instagram. And if you saw Asim struggling at the beginning of the last podcast live stream on Instagram, it was amazing. He was WhatsApping in panic. How do I invite people? How do I go live?
There were just solid moments where Sujoy and I are talking and suddenly I'm like, where is Asim? Asim has just gone completely off screen. Like, what were you doing? Like, I still don't know what happened right there.
Oh, fur banane gaya tha, fur banane.
Oh, the first one. Yeah. The first one I was doing for. The second one, when I disappeared, I was checking IMDb for something. With the laptop was differently angled. I don't know which one you were talking about, but yeah.
Okay.
I do things. I don't know. Speaking about people that don't do things, let's talk about Fardeen Khan.
Wow. What a brilliant segue.
Can I just
Amazing,
say,
no?
I feel like this is a judgment upon us because this entire time, the three of us have been bigging up Fardeen like nobody's business. We've been telling everybody that, you know what, Fardeen gets maligned so much. Like, he's made quite a few, like, good movies. He's a good performer. And then I chose this movie. And you guys were like, okay.
Nay, in the middle of this movie, I was like, "Wah, kya acting kar raha hai? Wah, kya acting kar raha hai?"
No, but I think we're gonna get into it. But his first proper scene, it like hit me so hard how bad of an actor he is. I was like, oh dear Lord! I was like, shit! I had completely underestimated this.
But any given day though, like he's still like 10 times better than Zayed Khan in Main Hoon Na.
That's true.
But I also have to say, PYAAR Kiya, this I had forgotten that this is only his third film. Like, you know, and he's definitely not a gifted actor in any way, shape or form. But I do think he grew, right? Like, I think he got better. Like, if I'm thinking Dev, Fida, these movies, he was slightly better. Like, this is Prem Agar level. Like, you know, like, Suraj ko nahi rok sakte, Suraj ta tapta Suraj hai. You know, that kind of rhythm that he had. Like, this is this.
Sometimes people wonder, how is it that certain people just keep failing upwards? And when you listen to Asim trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, even after watching this film, this is how it happens in Bollywood.
Yeah, Asim is an enabler.
It's basically me and Karan Johar. 90% of nepotism हमारी गलती है. Like, it's our fault.
So it turns out like what I actually remembered being good about this film was actually Urmila.
And the music, some part of it.
So the music is so funny. Like this movie simultaneously has the worst music, which is what it ironically begins with, and then also the best music, so which is what it ends with. So it is a musical journey, but it's a musical journey in an unexpected way.
What I also found interesting is that this movie has 6 people in it, and that's it. Like, it was such a weird thinking that this is so this is from the RGV factory, right? If I'm not mistaken, this is one of the factory movies, right?
Yeah.
And the idea was, for people that don't know, that Ram Gopal Verma has set up this kind of, let's say, coterie of directors, and they were just churning out movies one after the other, quite cheaply made. And at least, I mean, there were like 20 RGV factory movies coming out. It was an actual factory. Like, it's the best word ever. But I mean, a lot of filmmakers, like, I think even like Anurag Kashyap kind of came out of that, and quite a few filmmakers came out of that, like that background, right? Are there any other ones that I'm mentioning?
No, there's a bunch actually. The guy that made Shool and
Nivas.
Yeah. I think also, what's his name? The guy that made Andhadhun.
Sriram Raghavan.
Yeah, I think he also worked for the factory at some point. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I mean, they collaborated definitely in earlier movies and such. Yeah. And then Hansal Mehta is also one of them who made like Scam 1992 and Shahid and all of that.
And I'm sure, like, we're thinking of directors, but it also gives, chances to directors and writers, editors and writers and, script supervisors. And it was like a whole thing at that time. And I feel he was really doing something really cool for the industry at that time. And also the movies they were making, they weren't like rom-com Bollywood kind of movies, right?
Yeah.
They were kind of close to like indies, I would say. But,
I think that was kind of the 2000s indie movement as such. They like Anurag Kashyap stemmed off with like they collaborated with Satya, and then Anurag went on to make Panch and what's his first name movie, Black Friday, right? And then RGV then sort of gave chances to all of these new budding filmmakers who also were like collaborating and struggling together in their early days. And there was like Rajit Mukherjee is one of them who made PYAAR TUNE KYA KIYA, and then Nivas, as you said. And then there was this string of movies that came out during that time. Do you remember the horror anthology Darna Mana Hai and all of that?
Yeah.
So I mean, just a few here I have is a company, Ek Hasina Thi, Ab Tak Chappan, Sarkar, Shabri, Run. These were all like kind of different, like Daur, Nishabd. Remember like a lot of these movies here, Bollywood filmmakers such as Anurag Kashyap, Madhur Bhandarkar, Puri Jagannath, E. Nivas, Krishna Vamsi, Vishram, Hansal Mehta, that's the one you mentioned.
Yeah.
So quite a few people kind of came out of that factory, and PYAAR TUNE KYA KIYA was one of those. And I think even early days of those, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of get that they were really working with a small budget. And it really shows when you watch this movie. I was like, wow, there's only like 6 people, and you kind of see, and 2 of them are like, comedy sidetracks, which is not even part of the kind of the thing. And funnily enough, that comedy sidetrack became a whole thing, which was, just getting
like,
lucky with things.
It felt like 60% of the movie, you know.
Every single, like, they get like so much footage, like there's like an entire like emotional arc for the 2 characters. Like, and I'm like, why? Like, why do we have this?
The whole myth and the legend of Chota Vakil.
So let's start talking first a little bit about Fardeen, right? Because
let's get to Fardeen, because he's the main event.
Let's do it now. We spoke a little bit about him when we covered No End, and that is later half, pretty much the end of his career. This is kind of the start of his career. For people that don't know, he does come from like a filmy family, right? Amrita, do you what is the background? Like, where does he come from? What is the family? Because I don't think it's also finished, that family. I feel like they're not going to be making any movies anymore.
Where does he come from? Where does he go?
Cotton Eye Joe.
Yeah, so Fardeen is Feroz Khan's son. You probably know his cousins Zayed and Suzanne Khan, who was married to Ritik. So they're like a old school Bollywood film family. Fardeen is actually married to Mumtaz's daughter. Like proper like old school Bollywood film family. And it's very interesting to me to watch Fardeen act, because here's a person who had no business acting. This is what happens when there's a family business and you're just expected to show up and be a part of it. I feel like and a lot of people talk about nepotism in the film industry, but honestly, I feel like this is what happens in family industries all across India. Which is why, I mean, there are entire like business school studies done on like corporate culture in India and why it sucks. So Fardeen, like it's amazing. Like he's not as bad as he was in Premagan, but I feel like he was that bad in Premagan because Feroz Khan was directing him, and Feroz has like a very specific, perspective and diction that only works for Feroz Khan and nobody else. And we'll discuss that when we do like a Feroz Khan episode, which we have to, of course. But like Fardeen does not have that swag that his dad did, nobody does really. So Fardeen in this movie, he's playing like, he's a photographer, but basically he's like a flirt that nobody really takes seriously except for Urmila. And he's also a people pleaser. Like, if you ask Fardeen to, like, I don't know, like, come, like, I don't know, like, help you move your furniture and he has something else to do, he'll be like, sure, I can come help you out before I go to do that thing. Like, he's that kind of a guy. Like, he can't say no. He can't be straight with you. He just has to make you feel happy. And I feel like that's basically the crux of the problem when it comes to his character in this film. And I feel like that part of it was actually done pretty subtly, and it wasn't the usual spoon feeding kind of stuff that we're used to in Bollywood. So that was, I give the movie props for that specific thing.
And he got launched by his father, right? Like this was like, and he hadn't directed or made a movie in a while. And I think he was like, his father is quite a successful director, right? Like, it's not like Kurbani and all of these movies were quite like, people watch those movies, right? Like, I'm not mistaken, right? I think maybe the last few didn't work as well, like Yalghar and stuff like that. But even, I remember people being fans of those movies. If I'm like, Sujoy, do you remember like when those came out in India, maybe they had like a bigger following or not?
Well, not in my part. I think the legacy of Feroz Khan is like one of those Jabas and Janasheen, all those movies. What's that song with Zeenat Aman, Aap Jaisa Koi? That's from Kurbani, right? And yeah, the songs and I think there was a certain sex appeal about those visuals that you could only see in a Feroz Khan movie. And that was the association that his sort of cinematic aesthetic had. That loomed large over, I don't know, the actual movie itself. And I don't think that like people my age in India grew up watching any of those, but it was kind of an omnipresence because the songs were always there on Chitrahar and stuff.
Yeah, those are like 70s, 80s movies. Like, we didn't grow up watching them like that.
Yeah, no, because I'm thinking like he'd been making movies, and you're launching your son, which was a big thing, right? Like if we put like Hrithik Roshan there, or we put Sunny and Bobby Deol there, these are the kind of, I think this is that same kind of star, Feroz Khan with Dharmendra, and with it's that kind of launch this was supposed to be.
Yeah. I think they like the dads were almost in the same level of actor fandom as such. Like Rakesh Roshan, if you compare with Feroz Khan, they kind of stand together, right?
Yeah. No. Yeah. Rakesh Roshan is nowhere near Feroz Khan, in my opinion. Like, please.
I'm just not familiar with either of their movies, so I don't know. Like Dharmender was obviously like super, he's like super popular, but like these two, I can't even really place where they were, Rakesh Roshan and Feroz Khan. But I'm just saying, they were trying to launch this movie, and honestly, I do feel Rakesh Roshan and Feroz Khan, the movies, the ones they direct do have some kind of like a similarity in the way they work with budgets and production. There is some sort of like lavishness to it that both of them have. So they're launching their son, and Premagan actually, he won an award for this, which probably Feroz Khan bought. He won Filmfare Best Debut Award. Can you even imagine? And then, but I think that movie pretty much flopped, right? If I'm not mistaken, Premakan?
Legendarily.
Yeah. And now it's kind of become like a cult classic to make fun of. But I think within 2-3 years, Fardeen was working in movies that were quite successful, I would say. Especially like Jungle did really well. Pyaar Tune Kya Kiya was a pretty big hit. And even when we were talking about, which movie we should discuss, people were mentioning a lot about Love Ke Liye Kuch Bhi Karega. So I think these movies have been quite successful. So he kind of turned it around a little bit. But you wonder, is that just because connections and nepotism and that kind of thing, or did he really, work and make it work and like have some sort of talent?
I think
watching Pyaar Tune Kya Kiya, it seems it was the former.
But also he was quite strategic, because I think earlier in the part of his career, he sort of might have, it might have clicked to him that he's not going to be able to pull a single hero project, as they would call it. And so he started collaborating with multi-starrers, He had Om J. Jagdish, and even when he is against Bebo. Bebo is the star in a movie like Khushi, which again did not do well. And then there's No Entry, and then Shadi #1, and then he did all those Hey Babies and was it Welcome or one of those? I can't remember. Just Married or something.
He worked he was willing to take whatever came his way, which I think worked in his favor. But also, he worked with Friends of the Family, like a lot of those directors were like
that's
people
what I was
that
gonna
he knew.
say.
But also, I think he was championed by RGV, probably because he was willing to work for little to no money, because, he probably didn't need it. And RGV loved people who didn't want their money. So I think that really helped him as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I do think it's really his support system that got him through it. And basically he was an actor for, 11 years, 10 years, something like that. So it's not that he acted for a long time. I was thinking one of his last movies was Acid Factory, and I thought that was a RGV movie, but it wasn't. It was a Sanjay Gupta movie. That was like post Kante, right? Where they were all like dressed in leather jackets and shades and stuff like that. And they had all like sticky pointy hair.
This movie sounds like a bingo game,
So yeah, let's, I think that's it. Like, what else is there to say about his career? I don't think it was illustrious. I don't think he left a mark. And it's also kind of tough to slot him into what he was good at. Because, Amrita, you've asked us this question about Disha Patni on the last episode. I ask you this question. Is he attractive, Fardeen Khan? Is he hot?
No. No. But then I have noticed that, he does fit one particular type that, in North India especially, people find, I guess,
Gora Chitta Munda.
Exactly. He's slightly doughy, he's not like six-pack wala banda hai nahi, but he is he's like, shadi mein jayenge na, we'll see 2-3 guys like him. And then all the girls will be like, kitna cute hai na, very approachable, I suppose, is the word.
I think the moment that sort of took off was Kambak Ishq when he poses with the banyan, right? And then that followed after a really massive Provoke campaign where he was the face of Provoke shirts, if you remember.
Yeah.
And like that was. He was more of like what Sonam Kapoor was doing before Sonam Kapoor. He was on the cover of a lot of fashion magazines and such. But he was more popular for being the face as a Gora Chitta Munda rather than having a career in movies, I suppose.
I have so much to say about Kambak Ishq. So let's just start talking about the movie because I have so many thoughts.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so, I mean, for the people that haven't watched this movie, it is available on YouTube with subtitles and a pretty decent print. So, on the Venus official channel, so people don't need to feel bad about it. Shall I give what is there like in terms of a plot summary? It's basically Fatal Attraction, right? The remake. An obsessive woman determines to do what it takes to get her lover at any cost. That's what the IMDb, written by B4U. So this is official summary. And it stars 6 people. Fardeen Khan, Sonali Kulkarni, and Urmila Matondkar, obviously. And it was directed by Rajat Mukherjee.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yes, I was getting there. I was confused. Rajat Mukherjee, who did Pyar Tune Kya Kiya. He did Road, again an RGV factory movie, Love in Nepal, Ishq Kills, and then he's been done pretty much.
He passed away last year. He should have been done like 3 movies before that.
Yeah. He passed away last year, actually. But
sorry.
yeah, it's not. He wasn't working much before that either. So, not a very long career. But yeah, Amrita, you were gun ho. This was your pick. How was it revisiting this movie?
I have to say, like, Urmila didn't let me down. Urmila is fantastic, right?
Yeah.
But when the movie began, and it began with like the worst song that I have heard by a country mile. Like, what even is it? It's like a South Indian remake, I suppose. But it is, of all the things, like, Fardeen Khan is like the last person who should be singing that song. And the lyrics are just amazing. I'm going to search for it, like, while the two of you are talking. But
is it the Kukuku song, right?
Yeah. But the way that movie started with that song, it really made me wonder if I had just repaid you for Radhe, like, you know, by choosing this film. And then actually Urmila saved it, so it wasn't that bad.
So it's a trope for like photographers when they go for a shoot, because the surroundings become sort of monotonous. They bring like a Bluetooth speaker to the event so that, you know, there's music to accompany the boredom. Fardeen Khan, being the great photographer, he brings his own music. He starts singing in Sonu Nigam's voice as Kukuku. He's a bona fide influencer.
This was going to... I was going to ask you, my first question, Sujoy, was going to be, how much do you identify with Fardeen here? Because, you know, you are a photographer.
None of it.
From all of his photo shoots in this movie, you know, did you learn anything? And are you going to, you know, take over that Fardeen Khan styling or, you know, framing when you take pictures next time?
No, I'm not. I'm definitely not. You can tell he's not a photographer for shit.
Okay, I need to just read out a few lyrics from this classic. It begins with this amazing antra. I mean, not antra. What did you say? Mukhra. Kukuku, kukuku, subah subah koyal bole. Kukuku, kukuku, सुना के सारी दुनिया जागे. तुम भी जागो, भागो, भागो. लूटो हसीन इन नजारों को झट से. रमैयो कृष्णैयो धूप भी आई मिलने को. When that line came, like, I literally had to stop and laugh for like 2 minutes because I really wasn't expecting that. छोड़ो रे सुस्ती को, मस्त होके घर से निकलो. जिंदगी है खूबसूरत, इसका है क्या मोल. यारो Zara samjho. It's like somebody made the lyrics through Google Translate. Like, ye kya hai?
Yeah. It's like an Anushka Sharma song though, right? she has a pep in her step. She sees positivity everywhere.
Wait, in the middle, there's an interlude, and the interlude goes, and I swear to God, I'm reading out these lyrics. Hey, Hiya ho, hiya ho, hiya ho.
Oh, poor Sonu Nigam.
And all while this is happening, he's basically acting like, a foreign tourist in India, right? Like, he's like, this is my country. I was like, dude, you're supposed to be from here. But he's like acting like, an Instagrammer. It's really weird.
That's a Fardeen Khan specialty. Like, wherever he is in any movie, it's like he's discovering it for the
first time. Yeah.
He's like, Calcutta. I'm from Calcutta. Oh, this is what Calcutta looks like.
Oh, I remember that shit movie.
Also, doesn't he feel like he's played photographer a lot? Like he was one in No Entry 2. Like, I feel like he's been like a photographer in a lot of movies. I don't know what it is.
I feel like nobody thinks that he can actually get employed. So there's like, freelance is the life for you.
And then we pretty much get into, Urmila's entry. And my first thought was like, RGV has no shame whatsoever.
Yeah.
The way he shoots Urmila. It's like, I was feeling bad. It's like close up of her feet, close up of her ass, close up of her humping. It's like, she's supposed to be doing yoga. Like yoga karti hogi, like.
Ye phir aa gayi beach pe.
In my notes, I was like, Sasta Rangila. Like, that's what it was basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she also has like hair like Jennifer Aniston in this.
Yeah.
Like, I was also just thinking, like, for Urmila, right? Like, these are the movies she's gotten the most praise for, Rangila and the RGV movies. But like, with the praise and like a good role, there's also a lot of exploitation going along at the same time.
Yeah.
And, like, a lot of other actresses would, like, I don't think Madhuri would ever have a yoga scene like this, right? The way the close-ups are happening, unless I'm totally mistaken. But Urmila just had to kind of like grin and bear it, right? To have a career. And I was like, yeah, this kind of feels sucky because she was already at a level here, right? She'd already done quite a few big movies, but she still has to go through this shit in a low-budget movie with 6 actors in it, right? Like, it's really weird.
Yeah, I think there were a couple of actresses who were doing it for like, for the limelight at that time for RGV. Like you had Nisha Kothari and you also had Antara Mali, remember, with like Nach and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and also the funny thing is like from the beginning, like the get-go, this movie is like it's weird. The tone of this movie, like sometimes it's like really subtle. And then sometimes it's just like just in your face because the moment you see Urmila in this film, the psycho music starts,
Yeah. There's like no subtlety whatsoever about the foreshadowing ki ye san ki hui hai, iski kabhi bhi sanak sakti hai. Here's your hint number 1.
And Fardeen has this fake laugh that he starts it is amazing. I used to do plays, like theater plays in high school. And I honestly feel like, the people who used to try out for those plays in high school did a better job than like Fardeen in this. And he got paid probably proper money for it. But yeah, he shows up and he's like, my name is blah, blah, blah. And you're just like, ye kya hai? Like, what is this like? And also Urmila is like acting. And she literally has nothing to respond to because he's basically cardboard.
Yeah.
Like that scene where he's like in the gym when he's trying to convince Urmila, are you mad? I'm neither mad nor am I bad, but I'll be very sad. Oh dear.
And that line works. That line works on Urmila because Urmila is a crazy person.
Yeah. They should have put the crazy music there as well.
Yeah. But I was wondering, like, because there's like a lot of workout montages. There's these 2 or 3, right? And like, she's working out quite heavy, and I never understood what she's working out for, because she really feels like Rocky training to fight Ivan Drago. Like, there's weights, there's Pilates, there's stretches, there are kicks in the air. Like, I couldn't make out what it is exactly that she's trying to do. But she gets really, really sweaty, and RGV makes sure that we know that she's sweaty.
Oh, very much.
So Fardeen discovers her and then convinces her to become a model, right?
No.
The face of panache, pretty much.
No. He doesn't convince her to become a model. He just secretly takes pictures of her, asks her for permission. She says no. And so he just goes and publishes it anyway. And then says, congratulations, now you're our face of panache. And she's like...
It's not panache though. I don't know what that's... Yeah. Ravi Vaswani is whatever.
So I had some questions, because the next scene is him entering the office, right? And this office is like fully packed with people. Apparently they work for a magazine. I didn't understand what magazine this actually was. And they haven't even launched yet. This was their like launch issue. And they just got Fardeen to film some random woman doing yoga. And that's the cover of their magazine. And I was feeling really bad, because you know, he walks from the door to the office of his editor or the owner of the magazine. And I was like, I feel bad for this magazine, because that walk alone is like 10 sexual harassment suits. Like, this magazine is not going to survive.
But it was the early 2000s, man. Sab kuch chalta hai, you know.
But also Fardeen was apparently sent to shoot background photos. And I was like, why does a magazine need background photos? I don't understand.
Why were you location scouting for a magazine?
And also, like, how does a photographer have that much input, and like, he's the one deciding if this magazine will swim or die, you know? Like, I don't understand, like, the hierarchy in this office.
This has as much logic as Randeep Hooda running a drug operation in Rathe, man. Like, nobody gives a shit.
But also, because this editor guy, he also seems to be personally calling up billionaires to come to his launch party. Like, he just calls Suresh Oberoi when Suresh Oberoi is shaving in the morning. And he's like, come to my party, I want to personally invite you. Like, I couldn't understand the economics of this. And that's why publishing is dead, man. That's why this is the reason.
RGB killed publishing.
This guy killed publishing. Yeah, Fardeen killed publishing.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, with all of this, Urmila somehow becomes the face of this magazine, and they're on a photo shoot, and then she realizes that she's in love with him. And after many psycho scenes, she realizes that she's in love with him. And
And then there is Kambakht Ishq in between.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And then we have Kambakht Ishq. Like, that is the big scene. Like, that is the high point of this movie, right?
Yeah, it's all downhill from there.
Yeah. And the funniest, my God, like, I haven't watched Kambakht Ishq like in full for a while. And Urmila's dancing her hiney off, right? Like, she is gorgeous. She's like on it. She's dancing. All Fardeen needs to do is pose. Like, he's literally, he's with like a bunch of women. And then he just needs to like move his face from side to side. Maybe like angle his body a little bit. That's all he needs to do.
I think Fardeen is the item boy. I think that's what it's trying to tell us.
Exactly. Because that music video is a ripoff of Madonna's Human Nature, right?
Yeah.
And in that BDSM sort of a scene where all the leather boys and leather girls are dancing around you, it's Fardeen on the chair. It's, not Urmila.
Yeah.
But he literally can't even do that. Like, all he needs to do is just sit there, and he won't even do that properly. कोई इतना खराब कैसे हो सकता है?
But one thing though, like I
She's
did.
crazy, man. Urmila is crazy. That's what we're trying to tell. Like, she's insane. Her choices are insane.
But like I did miss this era of like Bollywood choreography where everything was so modeled for like MTV and such. It was like a MTV music video with Ganesh Hegde doing the choreography, and I think Sanjay Gupta was specially called to direct this particular section of because he was like an ad guy and music video director as well. So he made this Kambaktesh video as such, and yeah, I do miss this era. Like I think the last big thing that Ganesh Hegde did was like Chamak Challo from Ravan.
And then the tragedy strikes because after Kambakt Ishq, she finds out that her Ishq is actually Kambakt and like married to somebody else.
Wow, Amrita. Slow clap.
Segue. I can do it.
Yeah.
And that's when her entire like worldview comes crashing down because she goes to like see Jay at his house, and then his wife opens the door and it's like, hey, ha ha ha. And Jay is just like, I would like to formally introduce you. This is my wife, and wife, this is my girlfriend. Ha ha.
And there is a lot of PDA. Like, this is my wife, but I'm gonna like, start necking her in front of you, like, touching her, and like this. It was all so awkward. And I don't know what's up with that house of Sonali Kulkarni and Fardeen Khan, but it feels like they use cocaine instead of sugar because they're all like super like on like level 100 the whole time. It's insane. It is. I would feel very, very scared to be in that house because they look like psycho people.
They're just a very happy, wholesome family. That's what they're trying to say. And in Bollywood language, it is very much like, hi, hello, auntie.
And of course, you have the whole like, like I'm the husband, you're the wife, you're going to make out. And then the wife is like, and like runs away.
Yeah.
Like, ye kya hai? But then Urmila has like the first of her actually, this is like one of my favorite scenes. The scene where she gets into the car after she finds out that he's married, and then she almost drives into a wall. The angle is kind of weird. Like, we are shooting from like behind a wall, and we're just seeing her like in part in the corner of the screen. And she's having a breakdown. And honestly, like, she does such a good job, like, this hokey movie didn't deserve that level of performance. I was just like, girl, like, save it for a good movie, like, it was a really great little moment. But then, of course, it gets ruined because then she goes and she finds Jay, and she's like, but Jay, does this mean you never loved me? And Jay is like, nee, of course I love you, but like, meri to shaadi ho gayi na. Like, if I didn't have a wife, then I'd be like really happy to have you. But now, kya kar sakte hain?
Yeah, it's like if I didn't have a wife, we would be banging in this Jeep right now. It's like really confusing messaging from this guy. And for no reason. Like, there's no reason to do it, or like, I don't know what he's trying to gain from it. But two questions. First of all, is this the first woman is a psycho movie, or are there more? Like, which was the first one in Bollywood? Can you guys remember?
I don't know the first one, but there was always Chahat. Do you remember? With Ramya Krishnan.
Oh yeah, Ramya
Chahat,
Krishnan.
Yeah.
Khalnayak also had that a bit, I guess. Was it Khalnayak?
Yeah, but like whether it's like the full-on theme of it, right? Like a full-on
like the
psycho, because
Kangana Ranaut made a career out of it. That's what you were going to say, right?
No, but there was also remember Khalnaika with
Anu Agarwal.
That was one, but that was more like Hand That Rocks the Cradle. It wasn't necessarily lusting after a man. But I think the whole psycho thing started with, Dar, I guess, right? That's kind of like where it started.
Yeah,
and
there's also like Dil Apna Preet Parai, na? Like back in the day, where
I don't know what
Nadira is playing the psycho. That's the one that was remade with like Preeti Zinta as a psycho wife of Anil Kapoor, and Anil Kapoor and Arman. Yeah. So the original is called Dil Apna Aur Preet Parai, and it was Rajkumar, Nadira, and Meena Kumari.
Okay. Yeah, but I think Dar started a trend, right? Like that kind of brought it back in, and then all of these. Yeah, and then I don't know if this is the first one or at least one of the first ones where you're flipping the genders, which is such an easy thing to do. But I don't think there's been that many, unless I'm missing out or forgetting any. But I was thinking this might be one of the first ones, though. But yeah, and I also had a second question. Yes, the main question. Is Jay wrong? Did he lead her on? Did he lead Urmila on? What do you guys think?
Obviously.
I mean, from what we can see from this movie, definitely, yes. But as he says, like, मैं तो photographer हूँ, मैं हर किसी model के साथ ऐसे ही बात करता हूँ. So we don't get to see that bit. So Jay is just a player.
Is that true, Sujoy? Like when you're out in London, like shooting all those models?
Not in the time of pandemics, no.
So Sujoy is a flirt with doggies. He has like doggy biscuits and he's like giving it to every dog.
Don't skip me.
No, but you do see that when he enters the office, that's what he's doing, right? Yeah. Every woman he comes across, he's flirting with her, right? So it is built in there somewhere that this is what he does. And also his wife seems to be totally on board with whatever his weird ass behavior is. So I was she kind
of feels very secure with how her husband behaves, but she like knows quite transparently like how much he loves her.
Because as a married man, I know that mentioning you're married quickly in a conversation is important. So I do that quite quickly. But not in any oh, I'm so hot, people will be falling like Urmila for me. Not in that sense. But I do feel that also we don't have like the concept of wearing a ring and things like that. I do feel it's like a thing that you should like, this is part of my identity as a person. Like I can't hide that, I'm a Pakistani or I'm brown. So I also do not hide that I'm a married man. It's like part of me as, also that I'm a father, I kind of like fit that into a conversation quite quickly, especially when I'm talking to a new person, especially when I'm talking with somebody from the other gender. I've noticed I do that. I don't think Pyar Tune Kya Kiya is the reason I do that, but it's just something I do.
If Pyar Tune Kya Kiya is not the reason, then it is Fatal Attraction for sure.
I've actually never seen Fatal Attraction. I've never seen it.
Me neither.
But but yeah, it's just I was just wondering what you guys thought, if he had actively leading Urmila on or not, or how that was kind of built into the movie. Yeah. I do feel it's really, really odd to spend that much time with somebody and not tell them that you're married. That was like really, really weird.
I didn't think...
they're like spending hours and hours on this photo shoot. It is really weird. Like I can get Urmila's position. She's kind of pissed off at that moment, right? And she was just like, basically she was meeting him up to do her big declaration of love. She talked to her horrible father, Suresh Oberoi, already about it. The nanny knew about it, kind of. So that's her world, right? So, that kind of like big reveal twist, it was kind of a very, very shitty move of Fardeen or Jay in this movie, I think.
I don't think it was like necessarily weird that he didn't mention that he was married. But I think it was like weird that like when she went up to him and was just like, oh, so does this mean that you never loved me? Instead of saying like, yeah, obviously, like, we were just working together and this is how I am. He was also like, no, of course I love you. Like he literally, like that's what he says. Of course I love you. Who wouldn't fall in love with you? And I'm just like, that is not letting somebody down gently. That is just outright leading them on. And it's an incredibly shitty thing to do to somebody.
And then it becomes double shitty because then Urmila starts ramping up, right? She starts calling him and things like that. And he tells his wife about it. And his wife is like, let's go to the police, get a restraining order or whatever. And he's like, nahi, uski zindagi kharab ho jayegi. And then he gets really mad. Like, he's like, Tum kaun hoti ho? Who are you to even tell me this is my problem? I was like, man, this marriage should not survive. This is a terrible situation for every woman around Jay to be in. He's also a horrible husband, I feel.
Yeah.
I don't know what you guys felt about that.
Yeah, he's like, like if I was married to a man who was like leading on other women and like constantly flirting with them and like, putting my safety in danger just because he can't be straight to somebody, I would be like, I wouldn't be there. Like I'd be gone, like long gone.
But what about his cute little face with provoke wearing shirts?
There's not enough cocaine in the world.
Oh, what a connection, Amrita.
Do you feel I feel there was also a thread in this movie a little bit that like Suresh Oberoi has not given her enough attention. Did you guys feel that?
Yeah,
like,
for
as a
sure.
father,
he's like throw toys at her. I don't care about my daughter enough. Just give her what she wants, and daddy never hugged her,
My thing, like lately, I've noticed that I hate Vivek Oberoi so much that I retroactively now hate Suresh Oberoi. Like he comes on screen, I was like, this guy sucks. Like maybe it's like just because we have 2 back-to-back movies of him. We had them in Lavaris, and now we have him here. I was like, I don't like this guy. Like I don't like this guy. Like, I don't like Suresh Oberoi.
He should die in the first scene itself, like in every movie he did in the 90s.
Yeah, he's also like constantly short with everything. Like he's working on these important things, but I don't know exactly what he's working on. Like he's just like, Pedaishi Rais kind of guy, right?
Yeah.
Like a Singhania kind of thing.
With the worst wig ever.
Yeah.
So eventually, like Urmila gets all these like conflicting signals from Jay and obviously goes insane and decides like the best thing to do is basically lure him out of the house so that she can come into the house and murder his wife so that she can like, like na rahegi, like what? Na bajegi basuri, like what? What is it? What is the muhavra?
Na rahega baas. Na rahega baas, na bajegi basuri.
Yeah, that's right. So she's like, if the wife is not there, then he'll be free to marry me, right? Because that's what he told her. He told her that the only reason that he can't be with her is because he's married. So she comes in and she tries to kill Geeta, and then Fardeen comes and like obviously tries to talk her down, and then eventually, and I was so mad at this point. Like he slaps her to like make her drop the knife because she's trying to like stab this girl to death. And I get it, like he's trying to like save his wife or whatever. But first of all, this entire situation could have been avoided. Secondly, like why didn't he just try and like grab the knife? Like why did he slap her? I don't get it.
I gotta say, if somebody stabbed my wife, a slap is not gonna do it. Somebody's going out the window. Like, I don't care who it is. If it's a woman, a horse, a man, like, they're going out of the window. This a slap was, I thought he'd actually stabbed her back. That's what I thought. I was like, okay, get it. But yeah, it's like, he's really like pushed it to the extreme of, I don't even know what. Like, she's coming to flirt with him at the party in front of everybody, and he's not stepping in there. He's like being, passive aggressive and full on aggressive with his own wife. I really hated Jay, man. I really, really hated his whatever he was trying to do. Like, it was about, oh, poor me. Like, oh, this woman loves me and she's making my life hell, without even thinking that he's making his wife's life hell.
But like that particular scene though, like cinematically, it made sense. Like visually, I could see why it was done the way it was, because when Fardeen enters that scene in his flat, right, Urmila has the knife against Sonali Kulkarni's throat, and Fardeen is trying to negotiate, and he's saying like, okay, I love you, I will give her up and everything. And then she almost, becomes vulnerable in that moment, and he slaps her. And then you can see the sort of realization in Urmila's eyes, like she is getting shell-shocked that, oh, he's betrayed me yet again. And like she goes berserk. And then obviously all things go violent and Sonali Kulkarni falls onto that glass table and bangs her head or whatever.
No, that was before.
Is it?
That was after the party when Sonali's trying to leave the house and then Urmila comes in and tries to flirt with Fardeen.
Oh yes. I'm mixing up scenes, but the knife scene is definitely
yeah. But the only
which also totally was Fardeen's fault that she fell on that table.
For sure.
Like that was also Fardeen's fault.
But
and also no, go for it.
No, the only good thing about that last scene where she gets slapped is that we hear the Rondhe Hain song, which is like amazing.
But did you know that
a good song,
that track is inspired from The Mummy?
The Mummy, the film.
Wow.
Yeah, there is a background score of when the Hamunaptra scene is being revealed in, I think, The Mummy or The Scorpion King, one of those two. But the whole score is just straight up lifted from that. Sandeep Chauta did a smart-ass job.
Wow. Actually, the whole soundtrack, I thought, like, there was at least 3-4 songs that I quite liked in it. It's a very post A.R. Rahman kind of soundtrack, right? Like, A.R. Rahman just screwed everybody and he's like, I'm going to change everything you know about music. And then everybody had to follow. And this seems to be one of those kind of soundtracks. But I really quite it's probably the part that I enjoyed the most, besides Urmila's performance, is the soundtrack here.
And then, of course, we have the ending, which is like one of the most f***ed up endings that I've ever seen in my life. Because immediately after all this happens and she gets slapped and everything, we cut to like whatever time later, and Fardeen and his wife are basically living their cocaine-fueled life of dreams. Like literally, they're behaving like like idiots. And
nothing has happened.
And the doorbell rings and Suresh Oberoi is standing there like Ramu Kaka, and like tragedy has happened because he's got a bad haircut, and he's like, please come see my daughter because she's in the asylum. And I don't understand, like, why did Fardeen have to go to the asylum? Because it looked like she was doing fairly well, like she was like clearly like like not herself, but she was at least calm. And then Fardeen shows up and she just has like, she's reliving her trauma all over again.
Yeah, it's just straight up triggering her.
And then at the end of it, the camera pans back to like Fardeen walking out upset.
Yeah.
As if like it is his like pain that we should take away with us.
Yeah, I think that's kind of when the whole focus of the story here is Bichara Fardeen. I was like, what? Like, this guy is just creating shit wherever he goes. Like, this is all his fault. But also, what was Suresh Oberoi thinking? Like, nobody asked him to go to Jay and ask him. Like, she didn't seem like she was like, it was insane. Like, it was an insane setup.
Well, his sort of justification as such, if we can call it so, is it's her birthday, and for every birthday he's always gifted her something, and Fardeen would be the appropriate gift to give her on this one.
Yeah.
And for your 21st birthday, I give you trauma.
Yeah. The man that put you here in this Pagal Khana were probably, Salman Khan from Tere Naam is also somewhere in a room chained. But yeah, it's insane. Like, it's showing her exactly what she couldn't get. So I didn't even understand what the point was of getting him there, except, like some sort of finale moment of Fardeen walking away. Although great performance by Urmila, right? Yeah. Like, that we can say.
But also like great foreshadowing as such, because the previous birthday Fardeen gifted her the softy tiger, and in the asylum she's playing with the tiger.
Yeah, probably also the only thing she has of him though, right?
Yeah.
Like, that she could keep. So that's what she's probably all focused on. But
I forgot that was his gift.
Yeah.
Imagine being like a grown ass adult and like somebody's like, here, I got you your stuffed toy tiger. Not even like a big one that you can cuddle with or anything, but like this tiny one.
But maybe that's showing that he really didn't care for her. Like, she was just like somebody. He kind of like you get something from the from the what's it called, light. The petrol station. Whatever you pick up from the bargain basement and buy something. You forgot a gift. It's like that Friends episode, right, where they get stuck and then they come with wiper fluid and toilet seats and deodorant. That's what
they are ribbed for your pleasure.
Yeah. This is not even like a gas station present. It's like a traffic signal present, like one of those people combine, like, loge, like, 2 for 50, like 2 for 50 rupees. Like, that's what it was.
Yeah.
At that moment,
that's what they were trying to show.
Yeah, at that moment, I wrote down, "Wah kya tiger hai."
Yes, if anyone out there wants to watch this movie, please don't. Just watch Om Shanti Om, which is like much better.
Well, were there any favorite scenes for you guys?
I love that scene where she has the meltdown in the car. Like, she was so good in it. Like, honestly, like, Urmila deserved so much better than what Bollywood was able to give her. Like, she should have been a much bigger star. She should have gotten, like, much better projects. It's a tragedy.
My favorite scene is the one in hospital after when Sonali Kulkarni is sort of recovering and Urmila visits her, and they have this one take shot where Urmila is negotiating with Sonali Kulkarni, and she's like, you should get out of this life, of this marriage. Jay belongs to me, and she's like constantly overpowering her, and Sonali is just straight up calm, not reacting at all. That was amazing. I think that scene will be my favorite.
Yeah. I mean, also just the final scene, however messed up it is, but I think Urmila did quite well because she was... I mean, Urmila is known for being like a very, glamorous presence and kind of like no makeup, weird wig, and just like letting loose. I think it requires some sort of, courage to be able to do that in Bollywood. And I thought she did quite well with
Even
that.
The ronde hair sequence where she is just trying to put on her lipstick and it just goes haywire, right? That's a amazing one.
Yeah. Also, the title track is quite good too. The PYAAR TUNE KYA KIYA. I don't know if is there a full song or is it just like used as background?
No, there is a full song. Yeah, there are like 2 versions of it. Like before the actual title track, when she's getting ready to meet Jay, there is a Chitra version as well, right?
Did you have any other final thoughts or random thoughts about this movie that we haven't covered yet?
No, I think, we didn't talk much about Rajpal Yadav and Ravi Vaswani's Chota Vakil subplot, but I guess that's the treatment that it deserves. My favorite line though from that was, "E phateli doodh ki chai."
I mean, I'm happy for Rajpal Yadav.
Yeah.
This probably was like thing that kind of, made him popular.
That was kind of the ascent of Rajpal Yadav. I think he did Jungle, which did like wonders for him. And then this movie, in which he actually has a very meaty role. And then when Rajit Mukherjee passed away last year, Rajpal Yadav tweeted a very long tweet where, he recollects his days of working with him in Road and PYAAR TUNE KYA KIYA, and I think he was also in Love in Nepal for some reason.
Is Love in Nepal that Sonu Nigam movie?
Yeah. The legendary Sonu Nigam movie, which actually I haven't seen, but I don't think I can, you would have to dare me with like multiple bottles of vodka to watch it,
I guess that's it. I don't know what else to say about this movie. I think I was okay. I didn't hate rewatching it. I just found that I didn't have much of a recollection of this movie. And I think for me, Urmila's performance and 3 or 4 songs stand out. The rest, I don't know why this movie was kind of like people's favorite. Like when we said this is the movie, Fardeen Khan's movie we want to watch, there were a lot of people mentioning this one, and I'm still not sure why that is the case. I think it's just Urmila's shine that people are remembering, and then it's, helping Fardeen a little bit. But I don't think Fardeen is really any good in this. Like as an actor and also the character he's playing, both of them are terrible. So I don't know. I don't know if this really satisfied the Fardeen fans that were, that we wanted to do this episode for. What do you think? Amrita?
I have no idea what Fardeen fans watch actually, because when we went live and everyone was like, "Yeah, Pyaar Tune Kya Kiya, solid choice, bro," and now I'm watching it and like, what?
I think it's one of those movies that people just have fond memories of because it was maybe trying to do something different from what came out that year. And I do think RGV and his factory were a disruptive force in Bollywood at that time. So I think, there's being this kind of, as an audience member, you want to be like the kind of a rebel indie movie kind of watcher. Like I watch different kind of movies, bro. And this is all the difference we had at that time. So we have maybe fond memories, but I don't think people have actually revisited this movie. So, it's just kind of interesting, I feel. What did you think, Sujoy?
Nah, it's fine. Like, I'd rewatch Kambakdesh many more times than go back and watch Pyaar Tune Kya Kiya ever again. I think I'm done with, like, Pyaar Tune Kya Kiya. I watched it when it released at the cinema just because Kambakdesh was, everywhere on cable TV. Like, the promotions were haywire. And that made me watch this movie. And I'm done with it now.
Yeah. Because this is the year that, Lagan came out, Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gham came out.
Dil
but also like a movie like...
Dil Chahta Hai also came out and Gadar came out.
Yeah. But also like if you were to talk about different kind of movie, like Aks came out that year. Remember Aks with Amitabh and
Rakesh and Prakash
Ajnabi?
Mehra.
That was Lajja came out that year. So it was kind of a good year, 2001. So this kind of like snuck in there. And I think Zubeda came out this year. So I think people have fond memories of that year maybe. I'm not sure. I don't see what the people that voted for this movie really saw. So I'd love to hear from you and let us know what we got wrong or what we forgot or what we didn't mention. Drop us an email at youpodcasting@gmail.com. Amrita, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at AmritaIQ, or you can find me on YouTube at my BookTube channel, Amrita by the Book.
Sujoy?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at 9e3k, and you can follow the Khandaan Podcast Instagram at Khandaan Podcast.
I'm at Asim Bernie on Twitter. You can drop us an email at youpodcasting@gmail.com. And leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. That would be really, really cool. We'll be reading out a few reviews and comments on the next episode, I think, one of the next episodes. So if you want to have your thoughts about also just like this not the main Khan series we're doing, I would love to hear from you. And we'll read them out. So yeah, that's it for this episode. Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to Khandaan, a Bollywood podcast. You can find us on your preferred platform from iTunes to Spotify and beyond. Don't forget to check out our YouTube channel where we host our live streams from time to time, and our Instagram account for announcement and clips.